Welcome to Jump Shots from the Goal Line. I'm your host, Jonathan Dugan. No Henny this week. He's up at a wedding, but we are, again, just graced with the amazing presence of just Baby Blue Ben, Benny Diamond Hands, Benny 50%, whatever
I
you
don't
want to
like
call
that
him.
one. Not 50%. That was a bad week one. I
Listen, week one, and we'll get into it, but week one is so weird, dude. It is so freaking weird. Like, the lines are all over the place. We don't really know who is what they're going to be, right? If you would have told us, for example, Josh Neighbors tried to, TCU ain't going to be shit last year. I think what he was really looking to is this year, but,
yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
over the
once
place.
nothing like Deion Sanders acting like they beat Alabama and they only had three of the players that started on national championship on that team, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, let's just jump into it. I mean, we're on the topic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Colorado looked good. I think they looked better than what people anticipated. Just because, let me tell you, I'm a Pac-12 guy. Colorado was dog shit last year. They were
Yeah, they were
so
bad.
bad.
I bet against them the whole year. It was great.
Yeah, and you got yourself a smoker from it. So,
Yeah.
like, they were just ungodly bad. They had an insane roster turnover, though, and like Dion said, he brought his Louis with him.
He brought his Louis and Gucci, man. Those were the Louis and Gucci transfers, apparently. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
it
I don't
helps that you had the number one overall recruit playing both
thank you.
sides of the ball. For Jackson State, that's not really like, oh, that's my luggage. That's the number one overall player just committed to him and is following him wherever he goes.
Yeah,
Their defense is still bad, but they might be over machines, which is
yeah.
great. I love over machines. As long as you know them, then it all kind of works out.
At the end of the day, they're a Pac-12 team, right? And Pac-12, future
Only
Big 12.
conference, only conference without a week one loss, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, how is Oregon State looking? I haven't even looked because they were
Well,
like the last one.
DJU had, I think, about a record 47 minutes to throw the ball on every snap. The guy had like an unbelievable like. There's a clip circulating online where he literally is standing in the pocket for I think like 12 seconds and then just throws the ball like 30 yards and gets a touchdown because like he's just DJU is great now, apparently, or Oregon State has a phenomenal offensive line. But yeah, whatever stat it was, he like matched it. He only had it one time at Clemson, and he did it in his first game at Oregon State.
Well, Oregon State, like, I think they're one of those teams that is for sure, like, probably, I don't know, like an underdog, but like they shouldn't be. They've been good for a while. So, like, you
They're
just
going to
never
win the
know.
Pac-12 the year that they're left all alone.
Yes, exactly. So,
It's
it
karma
is what it
justice.
is. Um, the Pac-12 is going to allow a lot of points. They're going to score a lot of points, and that's just kind of is what it is with Dion. Like, bro, I mean, like you said, number one recruit in the country. His son is no slouch. Nobody ever thought he was a slouch. He brought in a bunch of transfer guys. So, like, for him to go out there and be like, y'all were doubting us, blah blah blah. I don't think anybody was doubting him
We
because we
just
knew
didn't
what
think
he
it'd be
had.
fast. We didn't think it would be fast. That was the thing. Like
Yes.
all the pundits were like, yeah, he's got great skill players, but is the offensive line decent enough to do anything? And
Right.
it was good enough. I mean, Texas State did the same thing against Baylor. I don't know if you caught that, but 34-year-old head coach, I think, brought in not as many transfers as Dion, but he brought in like 50 when he was rebuilding the program, and then beat Baylor as a 27-point dog this week. So this seems to be what, if you want to win immediately as a new coach and you take over a shitty program, you just get rid of all the bad players and then just open the doors, open the arms, whatever the Statue of Liberty quote is. Give me your hungry, you're poor, whatever.
Give me your 5 stars.
Give me your 4 stars who don't want to wait to play, and it seems to work out okay. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and a guy like Dion can do that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, he's going to attract talent no matter where he's at. It was always the question, like, can he coach at division, Power 5, a school. Turns out he knows what he's doing. So like, it's going to be really interesting to see how it translates going forward. They play a Nebraska team that got the absolute shit kicked out of them. So I don't know.
Hey, all Nebraska does is lose 1-score games. All right. Like, they're not that bad. They're just, that was a bad pick there. I don't know if you ended up watching that, but it was like, I was rooting for, I think I needed like 4 overtimes for the over to cash.
Yeah.
And it was 10-10. And then like Nebraska's driving, they're about to be in field goal range. And then they throw a pick, and then Minnesota goes the other way and kicks the field goal. But I was that close, to getting to 4 overtimes and having that over cash. But I actually, without diving into next week's lines and all that stuff, like, there's nothing quite like overreacting to week 1. I can tell you 97% of the money is going to be on Colorado to cover.
Yep.
And if sports betting was that easy, I would think that we would all be making a ton of money doing it. So this is where my gambling brain, my smooth brain takes come in. And I'm just like, oh, dude, I got to take Nebraska against the spread because everybody is going to be doing the opposite. But I might wait until the end of the week actually to bet because I want that line to go even further the other direction.
Yeah. So do we think Nebraska's as bad as they look, or is it just tough matchup week 1?
I don't know enough about Minnesota's defense to be like, that's why they scored 10 points.
Yeah.
And in theory, I should know more about that than other people, but
in theory,
but it's hard to watch PJ Fleck when you hate him as much as I do. And they had a good defense last year. Maybe, it's just the remnants of that. And I think a whole theme of week 1 was just like all these new quarterbacks in new systems, a lot of miscues, and maybe Nebraska comes out next week and beats them because it makes no sense. And the things that make no sense are the things that hit when you're gambling. So I think the line's 3 points right now for week 2, Nebraska against Colorado. It's literally going to be hammered the opposite direction. I guarantee it. It'll probably be like 7 points by kickoff, and I'll take it. And we'll watch Nebraska lose a 1-score game, but they'll cover. It'll be great.
Yeah. Hey, that's your kind of game, dude.
Makes no sense, but it's what hits. That's a trap line.
Let's talk about Nebraska's quarterback, though, because you were kind of a fan going into this.
Well,
he looked bad.
He had one really nice play, though. Let's not forget. He had that. It's like the Patrick Mahomes thing. It's like if Pat Mahomes does this, the whole world loses their mind. It's like if Caleb Williams does that, and he did in like week 0, everybody loses their mind. But Jeff Sims bobbles the throwback trick play, and it's like and he throws a touchdown, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's not that good." It's like, no, he's Caleb Williams 2.0, dude. Jeff Sims is the truth.
Is that what you're going with?
No, he didn't look very good, but he's an athlete. We'll see what happens. He'll probably keep him close in some games. He shouldn't.
Yeah, probably. It's kind of the same thing as Dion, though, right? With Nebraska, like brand new coach, like you got to give him time, right? We don't know what this team's going to look like. Minnesota, like, still has PJ Fleck. Like, they're always like kind of a thorn in the side of anybody they play.
Yeah, it's because of the stupid row the boat crap he does, man. It's so motivational. The oars are the progress and the work you put in, and you're facing where you came from, not where you're going. And look, I don't know, some stupid analogy, man. I hate him so much.
I love the body language, though. The hand usage was fantastic. So
I might be Italian. I didn't take a DNA test. I don't want there to be a government-controlled clone of me on an island somewhere. So
you don't want to find out that you're that bitch.
yeah. It's like, oh man, I'm 18% Italian. It explains so much,
Yeah. No, but it was a wacky week 1 for sure. Like you said, Pac-12 has gone undefeated after just deciding that they don't want to be a conference anymore. USC looked incredible. Caleb Williams is just the absolute truth.
Did you see people online were like, oh my God, like USC's defense looked way better in that game. I'm like, they should look good against Nevada. Like, that doesn't tell you anything. Like, I saw a couple of takes like that online. I was like, I was losing that. I was like, there's no way that we can all of a sudden be like, oh no, they're legit because
There's
they blew out
there,
Nevada.
there's nothing like a reactionary comment from like online. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? From Twitter or
It
X,
gets me
whatever.
It's me triggered every time. So, I don't know if I'm the target audience. It's just like this random guy who's like, what? You can't say that. But it gets me every single time.
Well, half of that shit is probably put out by Vegas anyway because they want you to bet the lines. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
So
100%. They don't want the over-unders.
no, God forbid. What was your take though from week one? I mean, how are we looking in terms of kind of like the gambling aspect?
I did the same thing last year. And it was funny because I don't think I'm going to track it way better this year. So right now I'm sitting at 9 of 18 picks have hit that have played, and I have Clemson ATS tomorrow to determine whether I go above 50% or below 50%. So the only bad thing we joke all the time about like Josh Neighbors like really swaying us against one team or the other. Like, I wasn't going to bet Texas Tech, but Tom Fernelli, if you know who he is, like one of my favorite like college football. I'm not going to say handicappers, but just like a guy who gives out picks all the times and has podcasts. He was so confident. I was like, I'll just do a 4-unit play on Texas Tech ATS, and that one hurt a little bit because he was so confident. That was my only multi-unit play of the weekend, and it was Texas Tech. It was a 4-unit one, and it hurt a little bit. So I'm good, but I'm grinding now. I should have been in a much better spot if I didn't do a 4-unit play on Texas Tech.
And that's what hurts, right? It's because you knew going into it what to do, but you got swayed. And
I didn't have that many picks at first. I didn't have that many picks at first, and I'm like, well, I need something in this time slot, and I need something in this time slot just so I have something. It's like you got to have a little bit of action in all time slots, and then you got a couple days that and the game got delayed, and it all really messed me up quite a bit. It wasn't. I wish it had gone differently. I do want to mention, without even diving into the Penn State stuff, like the West Virginia coach freaking out about them going for the touchdown with 6 seconds left. So I got my son on the couch, like my son's on the couch next to me, and I'm like, go, like, and like, because I'm like, run the ball, go, snap it, like, because I knew I needed the last second touchdown for the cover.
Yeah,
and they're just like they're pulling a little parrot, and it's like, go, run the ball, like 4 and 2 years old. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, boys, this is what happens. But he was so
such
mad.
A proud dad right now, though. Come on.
Yeah, I was pumped. I mean, I was so mad that he was like saying crap. It's like the dude, he kept his first team offense in against second team defense, blows the cover, tries to kick an onside kick, goes for 2, does the stupid Kansas City circle whirl move on the 2-point conversion against the second team defense. Of course they're confused. They're all freshmen. They don't know what's happening. And then the second team offense goes down and scores with 6 seconds left for the cover. It was electric. It was awesome.
Yeah, dude, West Virginia sucks. Like they have not been good for a while.
They were interesting because I don't think they're going to do anything in the Big 12 by any means, but like their quarterback wasn't bad, all things considered. And their offensive line probably like second or third best that Penn State will play this year. So like, while I was initially like, that the little dude in Da Vinci Code who's like whipping himself in the back, like that was me.
Yeah.
Watching them get run over in the first half.
Right.
And I was like, oh God, it's happening. Like, why do I do this to myself? But they tightened up at the end. I think West Virginia was a decent, all things considered, they could have played Portland State like Oregon and maybe dropped 81. But I'll take like the real game, the real environment, the whiteout in name basically, or effect only because of the stupid blue stripe down the middle. But that was awesome. I cannot be more excited for the next 2 years because I've never seen a quarterback actually keep his eyes up and throw the ball.
Yeah.
While scrambling, it was always just Sean Clifford just being like, "Oh, I gotta go get 7 yards." So I don't know if I'll ever capture this feeling again of being like, "Wow, it's our time. In the next 2 years, it's our time." But Drew Aller was everything that all the articles and podcasts said he would be. He really only had one bad throw, and all the rest were throwaways. So, like, the dude was electric. You can't play zone against Drew Aller. It's going to be incredible.
Was that like unwrapping a Christmas present on Christmas Day? Because I know you've been waiting for that one.
I've been waiting 9 long months to just see if he was as good as you thought he was. It was like the gestational period of a 5-star quarterback is 9 months apparently, and it was so long to wait. Just it was awesome. Like I literally read every article I could find online that just confirmed. They all said the same thing. It's like he was great. I'm like, oh, I know. And it's like, let me go find another article. It's like he was amazing. I'm like, I thought the same thing. Let me find another article. I just did that all night last night.
Dude, I've known you long enough that I remember you talking about him as a recruit. You know what I mean? Like before he even signed. Like, so this is cool, just like friend moment right now. Like seeing you get to unwrap your present on Christmas Day, and it turns out to be an Xbox 360. So
he didn't come out looking like the neighbor or something like that. Like 9 months later, it's like, oh, wait, that's not who I thought it was.
Yeah,
he didn't look like I thought it was. It's like, no, he was exactly what I wanted him to look like. He had my eyes and my face and all that fun stuff. So
it wasn't the milkman, buddy. I'm
it wasn't the milkman's kid.
Well, that's good, dude. Yeah, Penn State looked good. Is that, I know with like Pitt, like that's a rivalry kind of, right? Like not as much anymore, but like is Penn State West Virginia at all?
They used to be before we went into the Big Ten. Joe Paterno wanted to make like the Big East before the Big East happened, and like Syracuse, West Virginia, and Pitt were like the normal like teams we played, and then they're like, no, we don't want to do that. And he's like, all right, we're going to the Big Ten. He's like, wait, we do want to do that, and then they all joined the Big East.
Yeah.
I don't even know like the series record. Like West Virginia is not like a team I ever really thought about as a kid, but Penn State's been in the Big Ten since I was born, so it doesn't really. I don't like. No, I know that there's a bunch of historical games against West Virginia, but that's about it. Like I don't know much else.
Yeah, you didn't really probably get
look
into
at
West
this.
Virginia.
In the 1982, I have a little Penn State National Championship commemorative Coke here. In 1982, Penn State played West Virginia and beat them 24-0. So there we go.
There you go, dude. There's the history right there.
Continued dominance.
Yeah, you probably didn't really even think about West Virginia too. You went to Pitt, huh?
No, it wasn't really a thing. I remember they had that giant. My most like distinct memory of West Virginia was Tavon Austin, and then they had that big white guy that played basketball for him.
Steven Adams.
No, that was Pitt.
West Virginia. West Virginia.
Yeah, he was like tattooed. What was his name?
It starts with a P. I can't remember though.
I'm just gonna Google West Virginia tall white basketball.
I want to say his name is Drew because he's a tall white guy.
Pitt Snoggle.
I knew it. I said P. I remember
him. Growing up, I'm like, oh, was it? Yeah, it was like Pat White and then Kevin Pitt Snoggle. That was my main thought about West Virginia until I went to Pitt. But
yeah, West Virginia had a nice little run there in sports. Back when we were in college. So, was this game in Happy Valley or was it in Morgantown?
It was in Happy Valley. It was there were about 100 recruits on site. Just kind of drinking it in. Just really kind of getting a glance at it. Had a lot of NFL players there too, just kind of swaying the young minds to come play for Jamie Frankly. It's all good stuff, dude. I'm excited. You've known me a long time. I'm a very negative sports fan.
You are. You won't even let me really watch sports with you.
I probably still won't, but I always think my teams are gonna be trash, and like I'm so optimistic. Again, it was like part of this is that like when you follow like the people I follow on Twitter or whatever, and it's like all these people who haven't seen anything happen for 40 years. That at least is like that good, besides like Kerry Collins in the 90s. But like, it's like people were like tweeting out like just pictures of like him like rolling out of the pocket and just like and still throwing the ball, and everybody's like, whoa, that's new. And it's like, it was bizarre, man. It's not what we're used to. But I mean, I could talk about Penn State all day. I think overall, we talked a lot about Big Ten quarterbacks breaking in like new systems, new quarterbacks, transfers, first-time starters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got slaughtered in my card. Was I had I had Ohio State against the spread against Indiana. They did not look sharp. Michigan just, free Harbaugh from his own self-imposed.
So weird, right? Like them like holding their hands up and stuff. Like,
he's not in jail. I don't understand. Like,
it was weird.
He self-imposed it. So whatever. Free Harbaugh. They didn't cover the spread. And then Wisconsin, Purdue, I touched the over on it. I didn't take the spread because I knew that was a risky one. But yeah, they lost to Fresno State. That was a trendy upset pick for week 1. And then Wisconsin basically just ran the ball and did not cover. Iowa looked great for the first 2 drives. I was like, I can't believe I have under 43 in this game. And it ended at 40. And I'm like, I don't think another point's going to be scored the rest of the day after like the first quarter. It was classic Iowa offense.
How much did they score? Like
24 points, 24-14.
What's the counter at now? It's like
301 points to go. 301 points left. Right. They do have. There is another caveat on that. They have to also win 8 games, or it might actually be 7. I think it's 7 games and average 25 points a game.
Yeah.
Let me see if Brian Ferentz contract, 7 games and 25 points per game.
Well, we're gonna add a counter like right there. You can't see it right now.
Yeah.
But in video editing, we're gonna add a counter. The Kirk Ferentz, does he get fired meter?
Well, so it's Brian Ferentz. It's his
Brian
son.
Ferentz.
Because remember, nepotism always works out. His son definitely deserves $900,000 per year after what he's done of late.
So Kirk's okay. It's just Brian then.
Yeah, it's so he doesn't have to fire his son without being like, well, we really tried to give you an easy contract, dude. But that was, I thought they were going to smash Utah State, and then they
should have.
They should have. They just did not, and it was. I was so upset at myself because I think the first 5 minutes it was 14-0, and I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah,
it was. I saw. I love bashing Iowa, so I'm going to do it.
Please do.
It took them 5 games last year to have 2 passing touchdowns. It took them 5 minutes to have 2 passing touchdowns this year. So, offensive revival, man.
My favorite stat I saw this weekend on Twitter was somebody put the screen capture from the broadcast that was their first opening drive touchdown pass since like 1991. Like, dear God.
I was being a big sicko because I felt so good about Penn State that I was on The Athletic and I was reading like game recaps from like all the teams who underperformed. So Iowa, Wisconsin, Ohio State. And I'm just reading all the comments in there. The Iowa fans are so upset. They're so upset. It was like, they're like, our O-line's trash. This new quarterback's trash. Like, get rid of Ferentz. Like, they're ready to get rid of him. It's awesome.
What did McNamara look like? Was he just running the shit out of the ball?
He actually threw pretty well. I mean, it was I think it was like 21 of like 20, or he might have been like 26 of 30 or like 21 of something. He had a high completion percentage. It was like, I think just short of 300 yards in 3 quarters of play. They just didn't really they didn't look as good running the ball as you would have thought they would have.
Yeah.
Like I think they averaged like 4.5 yards per carry in that game. Because they basically were like, all right, all we're going to do is just load the box and you'll have to pass on us. And he's good enough to do it. So they won. But that was a disappointing miss on the cover. I'm trying to figure out like these over-unders with these run-heavy teams. These run-heavy teams are going to be a nightmare to try to take overs on, because, you know, I think the line on that one was like 52.5, and it, ends up being like 33 total points. Wisconsin, very similar situation, like 40 points or so. Like, they just ran the ball like crazy, and it's like that really destroys the clock in this new format.
I'll tell you what it really destroyed, Ben, was our hype on Mordecai. I put a whole video out on TikTok, and now he looks like a fool.
No, I mean, I think he settled in a little bit there at the end. Like, I don't know, like these new quarterbacks either try to do everything on their own, because that's what he had to do at SMU.
Yeah.
And realistically, like, he was pretty good at it at SMU, but he doesn't need to do that in the Big Ten. And if he tries to do that in the Big Ten, he's going to get murdered.
I don't think that's off.
Yeah. I do think he had a touchdown that was dropped. From what I saw, I was flipping between. I had too much action on the 9 a.m. slot, so I couldn't see everything. But yeah, it was. They just ran the ball like crazy. I think they had 300 rushing yards, and it's like, all right, well, it's Buffalo, you should, but he didn't look particularly good.
Yeah, Luke Fickell's like, we're in the Big Ten now. We got to run the shit out of the ball. That's just what happens here. So,
Ohio State is going to be interesting, because their fans were freaking out, because they were like, well, obviously we only put up 23 points on Indiana, but the optimists in their corner were like, well, this is exactly how CJ Stroud's career started. I'm like, I don't think Kyle McCord is CJ Stroud.
No.
Second overall pick or whatever, or third or whatever he went this last year. But yeah, he was not. It did not look very crisp. Their defense looked great in theory against a horrible Indiana team, but they looked good last year against bad teams as well. So I'm probably staying away from Ohio State for a little bit. Marvin Harrison only had like 2 catches for 18 yards.
Criminal. Lock him up, dude. Not even.
Yeah. Cool. It was very bizarre that they were so offensively bad in that game. I don't know. I didn't get to watch as much of the LSU Florida State game as I would have wanted to tonight. My kids were challenging, but I love watching him lose. I love watching him go down, and like everybody's tweeting out the video, of him like standing behind the player doing like the, like the recruiting video and stuff like that. The problem is Florida State's going to be like number 1 going into the playoff, because they beat LSU, and their only other hard game is Clemson now.
Yeah.
So like literally, Florida State beat an LSU team that was ranked number 5 that shouldn't have been ranked number 5. And now Florida State's basically penciled into the college football playoff unless they lose to Clemson. So,
which they probably will. Like, we've watched Florida State for the past few years. Like, they'll probably lose to like North Carolina or like, somebody like that.
They had 9 sacks this week. Their defense is apparently not horrible anymore.
North Carolina?
Yeah, Spencer Rattler was struggling. He got sacked 9 times.
He had a good game though.
He did, but he was running for his life the whole time. But
still a douchebag. But
yes, 100%. UNC though was like an automatic over last year, and it doesn't seem like they necessarily will be. But then again, who knows? They definitely
lost their best weapon to Florida State. They're tied in.
Yeah, Keon Coleman from Michigan State to Florida State. He had an amazing game. Jaden Daniels getting body slammed while trying to hurdle somebody was awesome. That was probably the best moment of the night, outside of Brian Kelly losing. So,
real quick, fun story about him, about Jaden Daniels, because obviously it goes without saying, being a U of A fan, I have a general disdain for the man as it goes, right? Yeah. But Henny and I were
skinny.
Yeah, he's a running back. Yeah, I get you.
Just pack some weight on him, dude. I mean, I don't know. Like,
he's too busy using his mom's credit card. But anyway, we went golfing, me and Henny, with a couple of U of A guys, right? A couple of the players. And we were talking about about him, and they both could not believe that he got picked up by LSU. They're like, I don't know, like when he went to the transfer portal, they were all expecting him to go to like an
UAB.
Illinois,
Yeah,
just middle of the road, right? Because he had all the potential, all the hype in the world at ASU, and just never really did anything. Goes to freaking LSU. And the guy that we golf with, his brother's Mason Taylor, and he was like, dude, like I don't know how this guy's throwing to my brother. like this kid's not good. And guess what? For 2 years now, he has not been good. He had the one good game against Bama last year, or was it Georgia?
it was one of them, but it was basically he's been riding that. It's like he's got all the Heisman hype and all this crap. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like the dude tried doing. It's like watching me play Madden where I hit a button at the wrong time and I just hurtle all of a sudden like into a pile of players. Like that's what he did, and he got slammed. It was awesome.
But it was just interesting to see like a non-fan point of view. Like even other players are like, dude, this dude is not good. So
he's so skinny. I don't understand.
It's gonna be tough sailing, dude, for LSU if Jaden Daniels is your quarterback. And it's crazy too, because LSU is one of those schools that they recruit the shit out of everybody. And they have such a rich talent pool that nobody else can really touch except maybe Bama. But they're going to underachieve because Jaden Daniels is their quarterback. So that was – I watched a little bit of that game just, making dinner and stuff. And Florida State looked good, dude. That quarterback they have, Travis, he's going to be special. He's pretty good. Mm-hmm. So I did want to get your –
I like the money line on him so much.
Yeah. I did want to get your opinion though. What about the Pac-12 again? Serving L up to the SEC with Utah beating Florida. What do you think of that?
So I had selective memory, I guess, of Graham Mertz, and I remember his first game at Wisconsin, and I'm like, this he's the truth. We got to watch out for Wisconsin, and then he's been bad for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Obviously left Wisconsin, and I forgot all about him. And like almost all of my gambling was predicated on like, well, Cam Rising's going to be out. They lost, Dalton Kincaid, like these guys, like talent wise, like I usually do this thing where I just go off stereotypes in like those non-con matchups. And I was like, yeah, SEC talent beats Pac-12 talent any day of the week. But I think that is just a really, really, really bad team with a really, really, really bad quarterback. You can't have like a white receiver be your best receiver. It's just never going to work. And like watching that one pick, I think it was the first pick of the game, off the white dude's hands into the air, and then like they just caught it and like ran it back. I'm like, this is awful. This is my nightmare. I've wasted money on Florida money line because I was like, why not? They beat them last year, and they're just bad. They're going to be really bad. I'm going to probably week one overreaction. I'll just bet against Florida the entire year to not cover, and I'll just lose a ton of money. So,
yeah, what you forgot is that Florida has not won away from the swamp in, I think, what, out of conference matchup since like 2002 or something.
Yeah. Texas Tech was the same way. I had no idea. They haven't won a season opener outside of the state of Texas in like 14 years. They should have like a disclaimer when you go to put that bet in that should be like, are you sure? Because it's like you might find this factoid interesting that Texas Tech doesn't win outside of the state of Texas when they open their season.
They need like the digital version of like when Henny and I went to Vegas and I placed a bet. This was like when I first started sports gambling. You've heard this story.
Yeah.
And I placed a bet on like, what was it, dude? Like Alabama.
It was like,
I don't know, something stupid, right?
It was like, I think you told me it's like a money line like favorite that was like a minus like 800 or something like that.
Yeah, like something really dumb. And I thought I bet something different. And the lady even goes, are you sure you want to place this bet? I was like, yeah, let it ride. That's what they need on these gambling apps is like the digital version of a Filipino like lady at a sports book going, are you sure? Like that's what we need right now.
It's like, are you sure you want to fire that bet? Cool down a little bit and look up some facts.
Yeah.
It would have saved me a little. 4 units. Tom Fernelli got me, man. I'm so mad.
It happens, dude. To be a real sicko, you got to know this stuff, though, dude. So you just haven't reached peak Ben yet, because I know you. By mid-season, you're gonna know all this stuff.
I know that's gonna be. I just got to get on my article reading game, dude. I've just been so lasered in on Penn State that, like, you know, I had my blinders up to everything else that was going on, and Graham Mertz got me, Tom Fernelli got me, and here I am just sitting at, you know, I'm a Clemson spread away from being under 50% for the week. I'll still be up over 50% on the year, counting week 0, but
yeah, you're relying heavy on Cade Klubnik and Dabo, dude. Like,
and Will Shipley too.
Yeah,
he is good. They have worth mentioning. They have Lincoln Riley's little brother as their offensive coordinator.
Okay.
And everybody, you know, fawns all over Lincoln Riley's offensive prowess. Like, the idea is that Lincoln Riley's little brother just knows everything, and he's gonna go out and get Clemson to do some cool stuff, because they still have the athletes. And I know Duke was good last year, but I think it's at 13.5 now. I'll take him to cover 12.5 tomorrow. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I could see him winning by a couple touchdowns for sure. You know, if they do what they're supposed to. But if I remember Clemson right from last year, they typically don't. So
no, they were not good.
Yeah, and hey, I'm still waiting for Dabo to just quit coaching, because, you know, he said as soon as these players
he would.
He's done. Not a man of his word.
Just loves running down a hill, touching a rock, and just standing there bitching about NIL. He loves it.
Yeah, dude. God, he's such a clown. I can't stand him.
I gotta ask you one thing. Did you see the College Game Day sign? It might have been the best College Game Day sign I've ever seen. It was like
the one where it has Jesus, like the
no. This
you know
one
was
yeah, I saw that one, but it was SMU did NIL before it was cool.
I did see that one. Yeah,
I was like, that's
amazing.
One. Yeah, I'm like, that's amazing. That's perfect. They got the death sentence for NIL, basically.
Yeah, I love that. But my favorite sign of the weekend was just the one where, like, you see the dude in the far right, and it's like, you know, the typical, like, Jesus guy where everybody's going to hell. And then to the left is the, you know, I love it when you ram it in my end zone or something like that. I was like, oh, 2 Americas. There's nothing better, dude.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
College Game Day never disappoints. Like, that's the one thing I will say. You know?
It's I like Pat McAfee a lot. I think it's obviously a little bit of a different crew.
Yeah.
But I love Pat McAfee. He can do no wrong in my mind. So it's like, anytime I get to see Pat McAfee just, like, go off, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, dude. Do your thing. He's electric.
Yeah. I mean, he's a Yinzer, so he's inherently going to be, you know, your guy. The other thing too with College Game Day, did you see good old Herb out there? He was chatting up a young lady.
I saw people talking about it. It's like, oh, there he is. There goes that man. Somebody stop him.
Yeah, dude, you can take the dog out the house, but you know what I mean?
He'll probably
only a dog.
The only reason he didn't finish, I guess, was probably because you know, he's not in Columbus where he gets to wear his Ohio State polo afterwards, dude.
Funny enough, they didn't mention that in the Netflix series. So
I know, weird
how they left that out, huh?
it was like Urban Meyer's personal PR team ran that whole documentary. Huh, weird.
Yeah, they definitely did, and I know I wanted to talk about it last week, but Henny hadn't really watched it yet. What a fluff piece, dude! Like 41 or 44, maybe one of the numbers in the 40s, has been arrested from that team. They didn't touch on that at all. They didn't touch on the Pouncey twins being drug dealers. They didn't touch on Aaron Hernandez killing.
They glossed over Aaron Hernandez. Like, I understand there's other documentaries out there. I literally thought when I saw that thing coming out, I was like, this is going to be incredible, because I'm finally going to get to see all of the craziness that happened. And it was like 10 minutes of fluff in like episode 3. And they're like, I just let them do what I wanted because I didn't want another player to die. And it's like, shut up, Urban. Like, this is.
I couldn't tell you, dude, like how disappointed I was watching that documentary, because I thought the same thing. We've all been asking for the Florida Gators documentary, like the 30 for 30 for it for like 10 years. And it ended up just being about, look how good we were. And we're like, yeah, we know. Okay, we
We
remember.
saw the games. Like I wanted to see Tim Tebow and Aaron Hernandez and how they hung out together at parties. Like that doesn't make sense. How you have those two personalities, like a murderer and a missionary, and it's just like those don't mesh. So I don't.
I did give them credit though for the fact that they showed Brandon Spikes wanting to just beat the shit out of Tim Tebow, because that was all of America was in Brandon Spikes' corner that night.
I actually wanted not to keep rambling on documentaries, but did you see the Bishop Sycamore one on Netflix?
Yes,
that was what I wanted the Swamp Kings to be, dude. Wild.
What a documentary. But it's because it was made by HBO. You know what I mean? Like uncut, unfiltered. Dude, what a piece of shit that coach is, right?
That guy is the worst human of all time. Like, I could not believe, because my first introduction to Bishop Sycamore was because I was, you know me, I'm a recruiting degenerate.
Yep.
And Penn State had just gotten a commit from the running back from IMG, and he's on TV, right? And they're like, high school showcase. I'm like, oh, dude, let me watch Katron Allen and see what he's all about. And I watched that whole game and seeing the announcers be like, what is happening here? Like, I'm like, what? Are they saying this isn't a real high school? Like,
yeah,
I'm just trying to watch highlights of a guy that just committed to Penn State, and it's like they're destroying these people. Like, and then to see the documentary, and I'm like, unbelievable. That was so good. That I went on a tangent there, but I just saw it like this week, and I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, dude, I watched it, I think, like Monday or Tuesday night. And same thing, dude. Like my first discovery of Bishop Sycamore was just from that specific game too, and everybody being like, yeah, you know, there's reports, blah, 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 blah. And then it came out, like a week later that, yeah, it turns out they don't even have a school. They have players that are 21, whatever. But, you know, going behind the curtain with that, I knew that it was going to be a spicy documentary when the guy walks in and he just looks at the guy. He's like, do I look like a con artist?
Do I look like a con man? And then he just like smiles and he's like, all right. And he was
dude, but then he's like, no, do I? And I'm like, this guy is fucking crazy, dude.
He was bizarre, dude.
Yeah, dude. And then, you know, not to blow the ending, but like when he's just sitting there laughing about it and he's like, yeah, you know, this is going to happen again. You know, we've unlocked the secret, you know, blah, blah, blah. He's like, and believe me, I'm going to do it again. I'm like, dude, you ruin lives. You son of a bitch, dude. Like, oh my God.
The whole thing was insane. But I could talk about all that stuff forever. I was blown away by it. Week one, I know we got away from it there, but I had to talk about it.
No, I'm glad that you segued into that, because I kind of forgot that I even watched it. But legitimately watching that, my mind was blown, and I just kept looking over at my dad because I was at my parents' house this week, and I just kept going, what a piece of shit. My dad's hard of hearing, so he's just like, what did he do? Dad, you were watching the same documentary I am.
He just committed PPP fraud with 30 players. That's what he did.
God. Dude, that was nuts, right? And then when they asked the player, like, oh, have you ever like applied for a PPP loan? He's like, I don't even know what that is. I'm like, dude, this dude is such a piece of shit. Oh my God.
Crazy.
Yeah, but no, week one in the books. You know, we're not going to hold you to your bets too much. Honestly, I'm impressed that you even went 50%, you know, quote unquote, because it's not baked yet. Because week one, we were telling a couple friends, me and Henny were vouching for you on your picks, because week one's the hardest week in the world to like gamble on. Because again, nobody knows anything really about the rosters. Nobody knows really what the changes are and like who's going to come out hot, who's going to come out flat. And I think, you know, even with you trusting Tom Fornelli, I think you did pretty damn good. So
it was just some of the, I don't know. My first year that gambling was legal here, I went 33 of 38 in week one.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow,
that.
I am Rain Man when it comes to gambling. And then like last year, I think I went like 40% in week one. So like this was an improvement. But I'm still not where I want to be. We're going to get back to our winning ways in week two for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Before we move on to week two, just really quick, give me your biggest winner of week one.
It's got to be me personally. Penn State, baby.
Shut up, dude.
No, honestly, it's gonna be Florida State because they will now be a lock for the college football playoff because they beat a bad LSU team. All because of preseason rankings. It's bullshit. Get rid of them. There's no point. Let the resumes build before you give a ranking because literally Florida State is going to be treated like an insanely good team. We don't even know how good that LSU team was they just beat, but the number on the next to their school abbreviation said 5. So Florida State will be probably 4th in the country next week, and they'll stay there until they play Clemson. And if they beat Clemson, they'll be a lock. So congratulations, Florida State. You deserve it.
Take him over Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, Colorado's up there. It obviously was a big win for Dion. He's over there acting like he's the only guy who coaches 75% African American teams. I don't know if you saw that quote. But I mean, it is what it is. Like, that was not the same TCU team. But again, look at it like this. Why was that a number 17 ranked TCU? It makes 0 sense. They had 3 of 22 starters return from the national championship team. And they're number 17.
Yep.
Yeah. They're number 17 in the country. Are they really? How do we know? They haven't played anybody.
Yep.
So it's like that preseason ranking makes Colorado look like they just upset Goliath. And it's like, that's not even the same team that was just there. So
yeah. Okay. What about biggest disappointment? Mine was Baylor because getting beat by Texas State with with what's his name in the stands, the Texas senator that everybody hates.
Yeah, make sure you beat him when you play him. Or no, you're talking about Ted Cruz?
Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
I love all the Baylor fans. We're like, now we know why we lost.
You always got to have a mush in every crowd, and apparently Ted Cruz is a mush. But no, I think Ohio State fans feel like the sky is falling, and it's really really cool to watch.
Just personally.
Yeah, because I think if they came in with the, I believe, 4th best title odds of any team in the country, and they barely beat Indiana.
Yeah,
barely beat Indiana, and it's like, what are you? You can't be feeling that good. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have Marvin Harrison if he only catches 2 balls for 18 yards.
Yep.
So I think Ohio State's probably got to come down as the biggest disappointment. Florida would be up there if they had nearly as much hype, but Ohio State to me was 23-3 against Indiana. New quarterback. That's just, everybody thinks the sky is falling in Columbus, and it's very, very enjoyable for anybody.
You said Indiana. Indiana might only win like 1 game this year. You said
they might win 3 max. Their over under was 3.5, and like, I know that they're not as good as they're not as bad in theory as like somebody playing, I don't know, Portland State, like Oregon, like. That's what happens when you schedule an FCS team versus like an FBS team. But Indiana is a very bad team, and like Rutgers dominated Northwestern.
Yep.
In about the fashion Ohio State dominated Indiana, and it's like that. There should be a much bigger score difference when you're talking about the level of talent between those 2 programs.
Yeah. No, I agree. So how about week 2? What are we looking like?
Another crappy slate. It's all kind of crappy until we get into week 3 and week 4 and actually get into.
That's what I'm looking at. I mean, the best game's definitely probably Texas, Alabama.
Texas, Alabama is the big one. That's Texas did not look particularly good until quarter 3. I personally am all in on Alabama against the spread on that one because I just don't see how. Last year was an aberration, I think, in the sense that like they barely got out of there with a win, but like they had Bijan, they had, they still have good players, but Texas isn't back until Texas is back. So I'll bet with that. The line's only like 7 right now, like this early in the week. So, you got Nebraska, Colorado, which is an interesting one. Not necessarily like, oh my God, power teams. But Nebraska loses one-score games all the time, I might take Nebraska as the dog there.
Yep.
No,
Tulane, Ole Miss. That could be a good one.
I like Tulane. I love betting on them all the time, but I don't know enough about Ole Miss. I'm not as good with the SEC stuff until like week 3, and then I've like seen enough, and I'm like, all right, I'm good now. I got it.
Yeah.
Notre Dame plays a real team for once, which will be
State.
Yeah. Not that I think NC State's going to be incredible, but I mean, at the end of the day, like they had 2 very easy games, and everybody thinks Notre Dame is the truth now. So, probably won't touch that one, but I'm very interested in the end result because Notre Dame hasn't played anybody. And don't let any Irish person or Catholic person tell you otherwise.
They do finally have a quarterback, though.
They do, but
Hartman, he's good.
Again, bad teams. He was decent on Wake Forest last year, but we'll see how he does against NC State, the massive powerhouse that is NC State.
Hey, watch NC State go out there and beat Florida State. Watch.
I know.
ACC in a nutshell.
Utah plays at Baylor. That's a trap line probably waiting to happen. Everybody's going to be going crazy on saying how bad Baylor is, and probably hammering the Utah line up pretty significantly. Baylor still isn't supposed to be that bad, but then again, who knows? Maybe they are just that bad. So that's an interesting one. There's really not a ton going on. You have Texas A&M and Miami. I'd probably take. It's a good line. It's like 5.5 right now. It's actually down to 5. It was 5.5 when I first looked at the lines like 30 minutes ago, or like 3 hours ago. But I would take Texas A&M in that for sure. I don't think Miami's that good. The real sicko game is Iowa State. I don't know if you saw the under on that is 36. Last year it was 7-3. Iowa won. The line is 4 points. I will probably take the under, and I will probably also take Iowa against the spread.
Dude, you are a sicko.
You stick with what works, baby. Play the hits.
Iowa. Nothing. Hey, real quick, I meant to mention too, because you said you always like to shit on Iowa. I was watching the Cats game, by the way, 138-3 against NAU. No big deal. But they had Nick Foles on there, Big Dick Nick, and they said, what was his favorite memory as a Cat? And he said it was beating Iowa.
I mean, hey, it's a real team as opposed to online colleges north of Arizona or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if you got NAU fans who listen to this, but maybe. You're not actually. How are you a NAU sports fan? That's like that's an oxymoron. It doesn't happen. There's really not much though on this slate. Like you got Cincinnati at Pitt. Cincinnati's not the same school it was, so whatever. Oregon at Texas Tech, line is 7 right now. That feels like a trap as well because Texas, like everybody's gonna be like, well, Oregon just dropped 81. And Texas Tech just, lost to Wyoming. But that's me being like, hey, Tom Fornelli couldn't be that wrong, right? I'll probably
people need to understand though, Wyoming's not ever a bad football team.
No, they're not.
They're a good Mountain West team.
And that was on the road. And the game was delayed. They were tired, all those different things.
Playing in Yellowstone, it's tough. Playing a bunch of Cowboys.
But there's really not much on this slate, to be honest. Like it's a pretty rough week. Penn State, for example, plays Delaware. I have to watch it on Peacock. So
the Fighting Flaccos, baby. The Fighting Flaccos.
We don't even have a line on it yet. It's going to be like stupid. Probably like 65. But USC, Stanford, the books are trying to catch up to USC's offense. It's at 70.5 on the over/under.
I don't love that.
I don't love that either. I might take the under just because it doesn't make sense.
Stanford Stanford has Sacramento State's old coach, who's actually a pretty good coach. They always have defensive players. They like to run the ball. Like,
Thinking the under in that one.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean, SC looks incredible. Don't get me wrong. They haven't played anybody, but like they look incredible. Stanford, I know, is going to struggle to score, but like they're going to muck it up enough that it's not going to get like, they're not going to score enough, and they're going to reduce USC a little bit to where 70 is not attainable.
Yeah, it'll be that's a lot of points with a team that's. I mean, this is the same thing that West Virginia did to Penn State, right? Like in theory, they're like, we're just running the ball the whole game, so that it can't be, we're down 4 touchdowns. So like that spread at 30, I could see getting hit, but the under feels like a really good play. I think that's the highest under over that the books have released yet.
Pac-12.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude, I don't get that one. And, this is somebody that, remember last year when you, me, and Henny would talk, and, I'd be always the guy hitting the overs, or at least betting the overs. And you and Henny be like, dude, you never, ever bet an over that high. So
yeah,
take it from me.
It's only 10 touchdowns, like.
Yeah, if you're looking at Stanford and you're like, dude, they might get 4 or 5, you're like, no, they definitely will not. Let me tell you.
Even if they get 2, like USC, by the time that game's over, like them having 8, that just seems really high. Yes. For a team that's going to likely run the ball. So that might be my lock of the week, is the USC under 70.5, which is like, you're an absolute degenerate sicko if you're like rooting against watching points in that one.
Yeah.
But I did it a lot last year. I took the over on the lowest under, and I took the under on the highest over. So it was like, it worked out a lot of times. It's like, there's no way. Yeah. There's no way. But yeah, Iowa
gets a pick 6, and SC doesn't, do as well as everybody thought. So, I mean, hey, Stanford did beat Hawaii though, and you were wrong on that one. So,
yeah, I overreacted to week 0 there, because I'm like, they almost beat Vanderbilt,
who is dog shit. But like,
I know.
You were playing with your heart there, bro. You were like, you know what? I'm supporting Maui at the end of the day. Which, by the way, shout out to Maui. We are praying for you. Thoughts are your way. But Ben was a little. I see where you were at with that one.
It's a 2.5 point spread. I'm going to take the money line. Obviously, it's not always going to work out, but if it hits nice. Like Florida State, you could have taken Florida State against the spread today and only got a -110, and I got a plus 120, because I'm like, I'm not taking a dog 2.5 points. It doesn't make sense. So
you got a point.
There's value in it. There's more value than taking the -110 on that.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, college football is back. We're both happy. It was incredible to just sit down. My wife always makes me clean the damn house on Saturdays, and guess what? I just had college football playing in the background, so it was a lot easier to clean the house this week. So
I'll be cooking for my kids, and I'll have like their tablet. I download like ESPN on, and so like I got a game over here, and I got like a game on my phone, and I'm just like watching games while I'm like doing dino nugs in the microwave and stuff like that. So I'm there with you, man.
Committed to your craft, dude. Yeah, you're committed to your craft.
Just making little Buffalo Wild Wings in the kitchen there. It's an atmosphere. It's a vibe. It's perfect.
Look, and there's nothing worse either than like my wife. I will put on football while I clean, and she'll come in and she's like, "Is this what we're doing today?" And I'm like, "Goddamn right. This is what we're doing today."
Yeah. Next 18 weeks, honey. You better get used to it. Like,
oh, dude, should have seen her face today when I told her. I was like, "Hey, make sure we're not doing anything next Sunday." And she's like, "Why?" I was like, "NFL's back." And she was just
NFL's back.
Oh God. I'm like, you knew what you were getting into when you married into it. So I don't want to tell you, but
I will never understand. This is going to sound bad. Maybe, you cut it or whatever, but like the dudes who like don't watch sports that spend all of that time in the fall with like their significant others, what are you doing? Like
Yeah,
you
I
got,
want to know too. You just going to pumpkin patches?
yeah, just you going and picking apples, like
Sounds
like
miserable.
what, pick a team and act like the rest of us who are like way too upset about when our team loses. Like root for a team, get out of spending time with your significant other,
Yeah.
and you get an 18-week pass. Be like, sorry, honey, we can't do anything. That's Penn State's playing Auburn.
Listen, really what it comes down to is if you're not watching football in the fall, you're not a patriot. You don't love your country. You're not a red-blooded
you,
American.
you can get at.
Get off! Get
Yeah.
off! Oh yeah, dude. Well, it's been a pleasure, dude. I look forward to getting your picks midweek after the lines calm down a little bit. I'll throw that out on the Instagram, so make sure you guys are following us there. We'll throw it out on the Twitter, or X, whatever the hell it's called nowadays. But
Twitter. Always
yeah,
Twitter.
it's going to be Twitter forever. Follow us there. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on YouTube. Go ahead and click that subscribe button down on the right. And if you're listening to us, audibly, congratulations. Thanks for that. But go ahead and leave us a review. Send it to a friend. Send it to an enemy. Send it to your next door neighbor. I don't care, but get the word out there. If you love our voices, if you love our picks, you love our humor, we would love it if you spread the love. So with that, guys, enjoy the football. Enjoy upcoming NFL Sunday. We will be back next week to review week 2 and then week 1 in the NFL. So until then, we will holler at you. Bye.